Hi, everyone. Welcome to the fifth episode of Laundry List. And today we have Divyansh Mathur, who recently got his startup funded in SharkTank India. Divyansh, why don't you introduce yourself and we'll start asking some questions and your some questions about your experience so far.
I'm Divyansh Mathur. I'm the co-founder of Bullspree, and I graduated in 2020 from IIT Delhi. And my majors was in chemical engineering. I also had a minor area in business management. Right from the start of college, I had been highly interested in building companies, and which started off as projects. So while I was in first year of college, I was part of two projects. First was Project Titli, which was into women menstrual hygiene, and the second one was Project Earth, which was into building an alternate fuel for cremation. So we were using cow dung based logs. We did some research, improved its physical composition, and added uh, some additives, and that is where we were able to build a product that can replace firewood for cremation. And then I went to my second year, and that is where I interned at IIM Ahmedabad, and picked up some books, Why Startups Fail, The Lean Startup, etc. That is where it gave me some clarity that what I really wanted to do in terms of how I want to pursue my entrepreneurial journey. And then while I was in college, I started this venture called Academies, which was linking industry professionals with academic institutions. So that was a college project, and we were a bunch of friends back in college, and all of us started working on it, and we onboarded a couple of companies, talked to academic institutions, and then later it was passed on to IIT Delhi. And later on, I went to start this company called Eden Smart Solutions, which was into IoT, with my batchmate Ranjan, and we were building smart home solutions for the emerging markets. And the product was cost effective as compared to the existing products in the market. And then later it was actually hired by a Bangalore based company. Then I joined my friends from Jagriti Yatra, which is a entrepreneurial journey wherein 500 people come together on a train, and all of them have a common belongingness, and they share a common passion for entrepreneurship. So that happened. That is where I met my co-founder, now co-founder, Dharmil, and we conceptualized the idea of Bullspree, which is experiential stock market learning application. So that is where we came together, and yeah, here we are, Bullspree.
That was crazy, Divyansh. I just want to start from the beginning. That you entered college in the first year itself. You did two startups from the initial beginning itself. So how people come into the undergrad thinking they cleared you did IIT Delhi. So you already put in so much effort for 2 years now. Let's just take a break and explore the world a little bit more. So how did you stumble upon working on two startups in the beginning itself?
So this started off as a college project. So I was part of this society called Inactus, which is active on various colleges across India and in fact globe. And there is a world championship that happens every year, wherein participating colleges from all across the globe come in, and there is a World Cup that happens, and societies that do good in terms of impact, revenues, idea, etc. One winner is decided every year. So that was a college project. It started off like that. But while I was in first year of college, I realized that the other things available, the societies, I was not good at singing, I was not good at dancing, and other creative pursuits. So, and there was a natural inclination towards starting companies, because I do not have a family background of business. Like my father was in service, so I did not particularly like that right from the start. So back in the mind, I had this thing that maybe I will not take placements and will try to build a company. Hence, there was a natural inclination towards these societies like Entrepreneurship Development Cell, Inactus, etc. And hence, I ended up joining one of these. And the larger idea there was to build something that has a social impact. So the two projects I was part of, Titli and Earth, both of them were very important in terms of the social impact they were having. And those initial days back in Enactus kind of shaped and gave me the fundamentals required to build. So I think that was very important in terms of because while you enter college, you do not have any idea, right? How you would start. You don't have even friends. But since this society was doing a lot of good work, and in fact, I guess 2 years back, they had also won the national championship, right? So yeah, I got gravitated towards it, and Enactors happened, and subsequently the other venture.
Very
That's
cool.
yeah, that's very interesting, Divyansh. I'm especially curious about Bullspree. Like, what were the initial products like? Were you starting from gamify?
This started off at a house warming party that we were having,
Yeah.
me, Harsh, and Dharmil, and we were discussing about our personal experiences in stock markets. So while I was in second year of college, I made a loss of around 1 lakh rupees in a single day doing futures and options. And while in college, you do not have any earning source or whatever. All the scholarship money I had, I traded into futures and options, not knowing anything, and lost all of that. So I was sharing these incidences, and we were discussing, and then Dharmil mentioned that even his father has lost more than 25 lakh rupees last year, right?
Oh.
So this is a common phenomena that we observed in all of our experiences. Even Harsh had been trading, and he had also lost more than 4 5 lakh rupees. So we were discussing this, and like Harsh is an avid gamer. He has been playing games like Dream 11 and fantasy games, etc., for quite some time. So we stumbled on this idea that can't we gamify the entire understanding of stock markets? Is there a way we could do that? Because if that happens, because what we had seen was everyone was glued to these games and they were interesting.
Hmm.
However, the modes of learning stock markets were traditionally very boring, and people did not find them worthwhile. And hence, despite these YouTube videos, lectures, apps wherein you can have the entire stock market knowledge, people were not referring to them and directly jumping onto financial markets. And hence, either they would end up doing huge losses, or they would be so fearful that they would never come back, right? So that is where we thought, can we gamify this entire experience, wherein a user does not have to think about actively learning, but he just comes in, participates in a few contests, embarks on a journey of financial markets, and in the process, he also ends up learning everything that is necessary for him, as well as taking the important financial decisions. So, while a lot of people might know what is fundamental analysis, what is technical analysis,
Mhm.
but until and unless you are a day trader, these things are not really necessary for you. However, the important basic concepts like you should be investing in tax saving mutual funds, or what is Nifty, Sensex, how does these things affect
Mhm.
us, is repo rate, etc. So these are some of the knowledge points that everyone should know. Right, these are basics. So that is where we realize that the uh, high-end technical stuff of technical analysis, fundamental analysis is not required. You just need to know the basics. Hence, we thought of gamifying the entire experience, because games is something that everybody likes, right? So we decided to gamify, and that is where we all of us were are in day jobs. Like Harsh was a CA, Dharmil was pursuing his MBA. I was also running another startup. So back then we did not take it seriously, but we were doing our own research in terms of we can think about this, right? So gradually, what we realized that this is something that might work. And when we looked at some primary research, secondary research, we realized that uh, almost no other companies in the US is doing this, and there are some people who are thinking on these lines in India. Right? So that is where around in 2021 we launched an MVP. which was just a basic gameplay related to stocks, right? And we were hoping to onboard 15,000 users on that mobile application. But in a span of 3 months, just via organic referrals, it
Mm-hmm.
grew on to 60,000 downloads. And that is where we realized that yes, people are liking this concept and this has some merit. So that MVP was not designed for scale, and we did not wanted to bring it to the market full fledged. So that is where we decided to build a scalable version of the app. And in February 2022, we launched the current app that you see in Play Store and App Store. So that is where we came up with these two gameplays, which are very simple, like something as simple as will Nifty close in green today, right? And you as a user has to predict that either it's a yes or no. And when the actual event happens at the end of the market session, you will get to see either you win or lose. So these are very simple gameplays, but in the process what I am doing is I am teaching you what is Nifty, right? So if I would have told you, so just to give you an example, like I was sitting with this person over a dinner table, and I randomly gave him my cell phone, and the cell phone mentioned Nifty Nifty got down by 1.5% today, right? He saw the phone and he was like, "Acha, ye to Nifty hai. This is Nifty. This is stock markets. This is not for me, right?" So that is where we realize that people fear with even the words related to stock market, and they see finance as a black box. So until and unless I make it interesting for them, or make them believe that this is something that even they can participate in, until that happens, people are not going to participate in stock markets. And the current data point is less than 4% of people in India actively or like directly or indirectly participate in stock markets, either via mutual fund or any other trading directly. However, in developed countries like US, this is more than 50%, right? And given the current asset classes we have, like as you can see, gold has not been able to historically beat inflation. If you look at bonds, corporate bonds, even like retail investors do not have any access to them, right? If you look at real estate, it is still not giving the kind of returns you would expect. So in that manner, equity becomes a very important asset class, right? And until and unless uh, stock markets, like until and unless retail investors start participating actively, they will not be able to grow their money, and it will be eaten up by inflation. Hence, this number 4% to go up is very important, right?
That's
So that is where we decided that we will carve out a journey for the user, wherein he comes in, he has to perform certain levels, something similar to what Duolingo does for language learning, right? So you come in, you play a basic game that might seem a little interesting, and let's say if you have played 4 or 5 games in a row, and you keep on hearing this term Nifty, so you are no longer an alien to these terms, right? And that is where you might go on to see a YouTube video or Instagram reel, etc., and start your learning session. So we do not claim that I will teach you the entire intricacies of financial markets. However, my job at Bullspree is to make you interested in stocks, and that will happen once you have played 4 or 5 games with us, and that is what we really aim to do.
That's so interesting. And fun fact, I in my last semester I was working on this product called DigiLearn, which was Duolingo for learning Web3, and it was similar to like what Bullspree is doing right now. But the biggest thing which you made difference was like uh, you show results in terms of the real stock prices, right? Like they invest some virtual money and they get rewarded in terms of how the stocks are performing. We were not able to figure out that thing, although I worked like on that DigiLearn for only 2 months. uh like this was very interesting, and it's a very innovative way to solve this problem. There are few startups in US, but they're mostly focused on Web3, because Web3 is like cryptocurrency. People are very scared about cryptocurrency, so although they invest in stocks, they're not investing a lot in cryptocurrency. Rahul, do you have any follow-up questions? I do want to.
Yeah, like I just want to know, like, has your like mental model shifted from the day you started? Like, because you mentioned you started out with an MVP, you got like 60,000 people on board, and then you like started thinking about like how we can scale this whole thing. So like, has the mental model around the whole application changed since then?
Yeah, like this is a very common thing that happens in early stage startups. When we had started out, we did not think about a lot of things that become very important today, right? So just for example, how do I complete the journey of a user? So what I am essentially doing is I am bringing in a user at a very young age, say 18 to 25 years of age. They have not opened a demat account. They have not heard of stocks. They don't. They fear participating in stock markets. They do not have any SIPs or mutual funds, etc. And all they know is that some friend of theirs trades in stock markets, and they have heard that some friend has made huge losses. Hence, it's not a good idea to go into stock markets, right? So that is where we had started, and we thought that, let's say, if I build these gameplays, something like League or Predicto, wherein I ask you basic questions: will Nifty close in green or red? And then people would be interested to participate in that, right? So that is where we had started. But later we realized that even listening about this term called Nifty is something that makes people afraid. So what we realized is I need to make my primary proposition an interesting game, an interesting gameplay, and learning about stocks becomes a secondary proposition, because
Hmm.
until that happens you don't care what I'm asking, right? Even if it is a very simple question of yes or no, you will not be able to participate because you fear just looking into it. It's like I ask a non-technical person, what is the API endpoint for this thing, right?
Yeah.
And they would say, what does that even mean? How do I comprehend that? So similar is the case with people who do not have background in finance, or they don't understand stocks. Hence, what we are thinking now is to bring very basic videos which are funny and interesting in nature, and also gives you some idea about stocks. Like very
Hmm.
subtly, they'll plug in that this particular character is also doing stocks, and this is
Right.
how it works, or this is how market capitalization of a stock would work. But that cannot be my primary video format, right? Wherein I tell you that today we will learn what is market capitalization. Again, people will not refer to that. So these are the insights we gained after a lot of feedback from our users, because we did not know this at the beginning. For us, Nifty, Sensex, all of this sounds very common, right? And I would think that if I ask you basic questions, you will be able to answer them. But for people from tier 2 tier 3 cities, the actual Bharat what we are targeting, for them this has to come via uh, very interesting videos, something like
Yeah.
what a financial would do, or a BBP Vines would do,
Yeah.
which is an interesting video and also talks about stocks. So these are the learnings that have come in after several product iterations, and uh, so an important component in stock markets is also managing your trading psychology, right? So even if you know all the important skill sets for stocks, let's say you know how to do how to do fundamental analysis, technical analysis. However, if you are not okay with seeing a 50,000 loss on your trading screen, that is again a problem, right?
Yeah.
Hence, uh, just giving you videos will again not work. So there is an important component of real money that has to come in, because until and unless you are seeing a loss of 500,000 rupees, you will not be able
Yeah.
to realize that this is okay to make some losses, right? Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you are making more profits than losses, that is a good trading setup to have. Hence, we introduce some real money elements as well, wherein you participate with real money, and in case you do well, you can also withdraw real money. So that gives you a complete flavor of how to manage your trading psychology. What are the important concepts to learn and implement while you are trading in stocks, as well as there is some element of social investing. which is, if let's say four of us join a contest, and let's say it's a private contest which we do host on our platform, and all of us have chipped in, say, 100 rupees each. And if you can see that in the real time, Yashasvi is performing better than the two of us, right? So that also brings in this sense of, competitiveness, that she's doing better, I need to up my game and stuff like that. So all of this kind of, brings in the important elements when it comes to stock market. So that is what we have been learning for the past 1 year or so, and implementing that.
And like how it has been in terms of development, like that you are handling the tech part of it, right? So how did you start initially? What app development tool you were using, and how you're making it more scalable now?
So when we had started off,
Mm-hmm.
we had used some no-code tools, right? And it was just an MVP. Some of that was also just on the website. But now, as we scale, today we have built on to Flutter, and we have Flutter engineers, three of them, who looks into the Flutter development. And we have also onboarded an experienced CTO now, because I have very limited background when it comes to tech, right? So, and since this Shark Tank thing was coming in, we also got on board with an agency who looks into the load testing, because on the day of Shark Tank we witnessed more than 2 lakh visitors who came in on the website,
Mm-hmm.
and around the same number in terms of Play Store. So we were very scared that the system would be able to handle all that incoming traffic or not, but we were able to handle all of that, and it went out really well. And even in fact now, what we are also planning to do is bring in a web version of the application, because what we see is a lot of people, since there is real money involved, right? So until and unless I give you some value as a user, you might not be interested in sharing your email ID or phone number or KYC details with me, right? So that is where we are planning to bring in a web version wherein you do not need to get verified via a mobile OTP, and see what is inside the application. And once you are a little assured that yes, this is a valid application, that is where you can uh, put in your phone number and get verified. So that is also currently in the works. And since Flutter is a very like, you do not have to manage Android and iOS differently, right? It's a cross-platform version. So that is why we chose Flutter, and working on that.
Also, I'm curious about like how was your experience with no code platform or low code platforms, because that has also been in trend and a lot of people were talking about it at least earlier. So, like, what were the limitations and how was your experience?
So initially, like, if you happen to be from a non-tech background, these tools become very important, right? And especially when you want to test your MVP, and hiring full-fledged engineers is very difficult and expensive. So that is where you can really try out these platforms, and test out your MVP, because in the early days you do not know what will work, right? You're trying out five different things, and if you go on writing the code for all of that, it can become a very time taking and a lengthy process, right? So these tools come in very handy, especially for web development, because a lot of things can be built just on the website. Platforms like Wix, or a simple
Mhm.
website can be worked out for a lot of cases. And yeah, I think no code is good to try out your MVPs. And once you are sure that this is something that is getting traction, or at least early signs of PMF, that is where you can think of going to platforms like Flutter. And once that is done, you can scale it. Even Flutter has become very scalable right now. So
I have like one question for you. So, like in day-to-day life, we always like keep on talking about like different ideas. Like in one day, you'll get like two, three different ideas. So, one like very important step is to like start from that place of like introducing that idea with all your friends, and then like moving forward, building that first, writing that first line of code. And like within corporate, like I've worked in product management. The first thing that you do is like write a document. Like a PM would come in, write a document, write in the requirements. So is it the same thing when like, because when you're starting out, like you were three folks trying to like start this whole like big initiative. So what's the first single thing that is like the most important thing, or looking back now, you feel that was the most important step that you guys took?
So I think the most important thing is the problem statement, identifying that right problem statement, which is solvable, which needs a solution, uh, which is a problem for a lot of people, and they want that problem to be solved, right? Because until that happens, because see, the way of approaching that problem could be different, and that might change over time, right? Someone might approach it from one way, another person might approach it from a different way, but the problem statement remains the same, right? So either you are solving that problem, or you are making the lives of people better in some way or the other, right? So that is very important. And then doing the right market research, because whatever company you start, whatever idea you start working on, there will be at least 20 to 25 other people who would have worked on something similar or would have tried to build. I have not heard of any idea which has never been thought of, right? Or people have not built at least an MVP around it. So a lot of ideas can be strived off, uh, even with a little good market research. So I think in the early days, a good market research is very important. And then based on that market research, you build certain hypotheses. So let's say I have 10 hypotheses that I want to test, right? And in order to test these hypotheses, you build out MVPs, because just by thinking that okay, this might work or this will not work, it's not a good idea. So the right way of approaching that is build an MVP, give it out to your customers to use, and see how they react to that MVP or that particular product that you have given them. Even if you go out and ask them, this is the product I have built, would you pay for it? Almost always they'll say yes. Yes, I'll pay for it, because you are asking them to predict a future event, and they would
Yeah.
always see themselves better off in that, right? So it's a good idea to actually, maybe you can start off with a uh, let's say start off with a basic razor pay page wherein you ask them to pay for it, or just see their activity levels on that particular product, because that is where the real validation comes in. And once that validation has been established, you are able to verify your hypothesis. Like in our case, we thought that maybe games would be something interesting, and people would want to play it, right? And the app was very basic, very basic in terms of UI, in terms of the features we were offering. It worked well in terms of what we were trying to test, right? And we saw huge engagement levels, and people were sharing it organically with their friends. Our net promoter scores were over 9. So that is where we saw, okay, this is something that is interesting. uh, we definitely want to build in more elements around it, which will make it important in terms of the kind of knowledge we want to impart of stock markets. But that came in very at a very later stage. The first hook was that people find this interesting and people want to share it with their friends, right? So that was kind of an initial validation for us, yeah, that yeah, this is working. And I think testing out MVPs and not going into full-fledged developments is very important, because we as engineers, we focus more on building, like that is what
Yeah.
we have been taught to do in college, right? And what we do not know is sales and distribution, right? And what I have realized even from my previous ventures is that even before building your product, if at all possible, try distributing it first and see the kind of response you are getting for your product.
Yeah.
Once that is established, you can always get in better people and build the product. But if the distribution is not working out well today, there are high chances that even in future it will not work out. And what I have, if there is one learning I have taken back, it's that you should focus more on distribution, and product development can always follow.
Yeah. This is like so interesting that like we did one of our podcasts with Nikhil Anani, and he exactly mentioned the same thing, like exact same word, that like we as engineers, we love building things, but we don't know how to like sell them. So yeah, it's like a common thread which runs across like all the startups.
So to give you more context, Nikhil Nani is also CMU grad and he founded Pharmacy. And he was like one of the early persons at Coupon Dunia, Hotstar. Yeah. So one thing, Divyansh, like I'm not sure whether it makes sense or not. You test out like whether it's a big problem, like for the customers. How do you validate the business aspect to it? Like, is it worth solving? Is it a sustainable business? Especially in case of Bullspree, like what were the indicators? Or there are a lot of big problems to solve, but not every business is sustainable. What are your thoughts on that?
So, as you would have heard from a lot of people, having a big target market size is very important, right?
Yeah.
So, know that only 4% of people actively trade, and this number can go up to 50%, right? So, there is a huge untapped market. And then it's also important to pick up a problem that you find interesting, because eventually, if you want to build a company that stays for more than 10 years or so, and if you want to spend those 10 years building it, if it is not something that you are particularly passionate about, uh, there are high chances that you would give up. So finance is something that has been very close to me right from the start, and I've always wanted to do something in this space. And I've been trading in markets for like 4 or 5 years now, and uh, since it was a personal problem, and I've seen a lot of people suffer because of this, so that is where the initial nudge to start something in this space came in. Later, what we realized was that if we are able to solve this problem for a user, there is a huge untapped opportunity in terms of the kind of peripheral services we can offer. So today, only 1 to 2% of people even know about about mutual funds or SIPs, etc. But since these things are very popular in other developed nations, there is a huge potential of bringing these products to the tier 2, tier 3 cities. Uh, Hence, we had this idea that this market to work in this direction. It's a good proposition to solve, and this is the right time for it, because as we all know today, Nifty has already touched 20,000 levels, right? And going forward, it is only going to go up, because a lot of people believe that India has still not unlocked the true potential when it comes to listed companies performing well, because you have a lot of trillion-dollar companies in the US, and we are yet to see a lot more in India as of now. So this is a growing market. People becoming interested in stocks is a common phenomenon today, and even young population find it a very cool thing to do, right? So the general perception is, if you are doing stocks, that is something cool, and even
Yeah.
Gen Z and millennials want to participate in that. So all of these indicators suggested us that it's a big market. We have faced this problem firsthand. Uh, Market size is growing, and gamifying the entire experience is something that can really work out in this direction, because it has worked very well in other parallel categories, right? So that is where we came to a consensus that this is a good idea to work on, because all the three founders were very passionate, and all of us liked working in this direction. So, and then you can always look at these models, something like ikigai, right? Which is, it talks about what the world needs, and what are you interested in, what can make money. So these models are there, and this
Mhm.
gives you some idea on gives you some idea in terms of a good starting point, right? So yeah, I think that can help someone choose a market they want to work in.
Very cool. One, so like I think that we are reaching the end of it. What's keeping you up at night, or like what do you constantly think about?
So something that is very that is what we are actively pursuing is uh, uh, targeting profitability, because we have seen companies built in this space who are profitable and making good amount of profits. So that is a very important target area we are working on currently. uh, that is number one. Second, building this entire roadmap for a user, wherein what are the levels that we as a company should give them, wherein they become hooked to this platform. Because again, until and unless I make this platform interesting for you as a user, you would not want to come in, and the problem doesn't get solved there, right?
Yeah.
So building these levels, and then really creating an environment for the people in the organization who can be who stay with us, and be as passionate as we are for the kind of things that we are building. So yeah, these 3-4 things are the main focus areas we have right now.